share my story with you. And I would like to share my story with you. Um, Again, my name is Robert Gomez. I'm 58 years old, and I recently paroled after doing 38 years. I was sentenced to 25 to life, and 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 thankfully, with God's grace, I was given a second chance to come out to the free community. And my journey started. Well, I'll go back to my childhood. I was raised in a dysfunctional home where both parents had anger issues. My dad was an alcoholic. They were both verbally and physically abusive. Um, and through the process, in my childhood, I had a stuttering problem, and uh, and so I was constantly a lot of times when I couldn't do a task fast enough, or I couldn't answer a question fast enough. I would get yelled at, smacked on, and so that I developed low self esteem. I felt that I was worthless, unloved, and I was constantly told that I was stupid, in the home and outside the home, and I eventually believed that I was stupid. So going forward, I believing that, I passed on a lot of opportunities because I didn't believe that I was capable of. So I just, stood behind and let things go, and so I just kept, falling behind and behind, and finally, uh, through my teenage years, I was, starting involving myself with negative peers. And I remember, even though a lot of these guys, I knew that what these guys were doing was wrong. I'd rather be wrong with everybody else than right by myself. So, and then I had this need to be accepted, to be wanted. So I just went along with the crowd, and that led to me, using alcohol, drugs, and again, and then getting into a gang. I started hanging around with the gang members at the age of 16 with this one particular gang. And at the age of 17, I joined them. And thereafter, I started getting a whole bunch of trouble. I started going to jail, to the county. I did two county terms. And then finally, at the age of 19, I and another ex fellow gang member, took shotguns, and we were now looking to retaliate for the murder of another fellow gang member. And I remember going around looking for rival gang members, and I spotted a guy that I believe was a gang member. He was wearing khakis, a white T-shirt, So I didn't know that he was actually a gang member. I just knew that the way he was dressed. So I believe that he was a rival gang member. So I approached him, and sadly to say, I murdered him. And I was arrested, tried, and sentenced to 25 years to life. So I went to state, I mean, to Old Folsom in 1986. When I got there, I was told that, no, being that I was, sentenced to a life sentence, that I know that I was home, that I was going to die there. And believing that, I continue on with the same activities that led me to prison. And at the time, I didn't feel the need to change, because I was like, for what? I'm not getting out. So instead of me changing, I uh, I took part in the things that I was comfortable. I brought in all my character defects. I brought in my insecurities, my fears, and I covered them in taking that tough guy stand. And I got involved in organized crime, and and I could and and because of my legal activities, I spent many years in solitary confinement. It's Corcoran, Pelican Bay, Tehachapi, Corcoran. I did all those, and it was like that for a long time. And even though it came to a point where I wasn't comfortable no more, I didn't like what was going on. But because I was fearful of what I would be without the gang. I was fearful of who I would be with that moniker that I spent so much time and energy, develop creating. And so, and two, I was afraid to losing that respect, that regard, and even though I was like, I wasn't really, feeling the lifestyle no more. I stayed there because that's where I was comfortable, and also I didn't know what the other side would look like, so I just stayed there, and I was miserable for a long time. It was not until 2014 where I really made the choice and decided that I wanted to give myself a chance, and and so I did. I was released from the security housing unit in 2015, and I was sent to the general population in high desert. There in 2016, I went to board, and I got denied 5 years, and that was another 5 years because I had the first time I went to board in 2010, I was denied 5 years, and then after the martial law came into effect, and I went to board again, I was denied 7 years, and because I was still I had not made any changes in my life. I was still doing the same old things. So at that time, I was angry with the board members. I believe they didn't want to let me out, so I was blaming them, and I continued with that kind of mentality. And finally, when I went to board again in 2016, and they started telling me, you need to do this. I mean, you have been doing that, and they give me credit for taking the initiative by doing some in-cell corresponding courses. But that was no, still, that was not enough, and they pretty much told me what I needed to do. And I remember them talking about all this self-help lingo that I did not understand because I had not participated in no self classes, so I didn't know what they were talking about. Criminal mindset, about groups like CGA, and so I just didn't know. But even though I walked out of there, defeated. They gave me another 5 years. I knew that what I'm gonna start looking into what they told me to do, and so I was determined to do that. I had already started making positive decisions, and then in 2017, around about April, I met Coach Taylor from Gogi, getting up by going in, and I remember her talking about the 12 tools for positive decision making, about the internal freedom, the ultimate freedom, and I did not know what internal or ultimate freedom meant or what it would feel like. I just knew that I wanted to focus on the tools and start making more positive decisions and give myself a chance. And so I stayed. I continued with the study, the Gogi studies, and finally I went to committee and I was given an opportunity to get an override to a level 3, something that I never thought was going to happen to me because I had too many level 4 points, and so I remember getting the bus, hitting going to Ironwood State Prison, and I remember telling myself, I'm not going to mess this up, and I've been given this opportunity, and I'm not going to squander it. So I remember arriving to Ironwood State Prison, and with that determination that I was going to do, what I had said to do, or set out to do, and there is where I met Edwin Paragas. He actually invited me to sangha, and so I went with him, and there I actually enjoyed it because uh, I was able to relate to the te- to the teachings because uh, the Gogi tools, they're based on Buddhist psychology, and so I was identified with the skillful thinking, which that's just positive thoughts. It was skillful speech, positive words. So because of that connection, I was able to connect with the Buddhists, and so like I said, me and Edwin Paragas and also Ruben Martinez, we were all in the same yard, and so we became very good friends. And but I remember uh, Edwin invited me to a lifers group, a voluntary lifers group that we had at the chapel, and there was only a handful of guys, and they were talking about all these self help, and these guys were already already deep into their into their rehabilitation, and they were just they were talking all this self help, and I didn't know what they were talking about. I felt out of place. I was embarrassed because they would ask me, and I just didn't know. However, I knew that this is the guys that I needed to stick with, and I did, and I'm glad I made that choice because these individuals who I mentioned, and as well as like Kevin Payne, he's also ex-lifer, and these guys became my friends, my mentors, the samples to follow, and each and one of those individuals finally went to board and got found suitable.
That butt in your ear.
So you remember Nancy and Ayla? I don't know if you remember. I told you that initially I was studying in the chapel, and the people from Boundless Freedom showed up, formerly Buddhist Pathways, and instead of kicking me out, they allowed me to stay and invited me. So it was actually Ruben Martinez, Edwin Paragas, Robert, and another friend of ours named Castro. And here I am, and I'm very excited that my friends that are part of my journey, and I was also part of that little group that we had, that lifer support group in the chapel, after using we were actually using the Buddhist lot for the chapel to do our group. So it's very exciting. I didn't know that we were going to be here today.
That is so beautiful and moves me so deeply. What a beautiful sangha and world we really live in. And I'm happy. I think Robert is back.
I'm back. I dropped my earbud and it went out.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened to Ruben too. So we learn each day. So please continue, dear one.
Yes.
So yes, all the guys paroled, and I was left behind, and however, I mean, by then I had already made a lot of progress. I had learned a lot, and so I was able to carry on the torch and continue with the sangha. I was not just carrying it myself, but there was other guys that were also part of the sangha that we all share and work together. And but no, till the day that I parole, we still had our sangha, and there's still individuals. Our sangha is still going strong in Ironwood, as far as I know. But yeah, for me, the meditation was very helpful because to heal. Because I remember Venerable D. Hong, he led us into a meditation, which it was about reaching our inner child. So in that meditation, I was able to reaching down into myself and to my inner child and connect with him. And man, and it was a very emotional thing because I found him. I found my inner child in a dark room full of fear. And so all I remember is me being able hugging him and telling him that it was okay, that he didn't have to he didn't have to be fearful no anymore. That he was safe, and that everything was gonna be okay. And from that day on, it was a process where that healing came about little by little, and where now that inner child, has a smile. He's no longer fearful, and he's able to show his true self without hiding. And that continues to be my practice today. And because it's funny because I've heard it many times with some people out here in the community. They tell me, man, how long you been out here? I go, a little bit over a month. It goes, man, it seems like you've been out here for a while. You seem like you're falling into life, and you're doing okay. But I think a lot of it has to do with the meditation, because every morning that's something that I do. I pray and I meditate, and so I'm able to center myself and find that equilibrium where now when I step out into the world, I'm more calm. So I'm not like reactive or hyper vigilant. I am vigilant. I'm aware of my surroundings, but I'm not going around with fears. And so that has helped me to adjust a lot better than perhaps others that have uh, uh, done so much time in prison. So I think I'm adjusting pretty good. Um, but yeah, meditation has been very helpful to me. And so I started as a gang member who was very violent, who didn't care, who was very selfish, and who believed that he was going to die a gang member. In time, that changed. That changed to where Robert resurfaced and started becoming boss of his own brain and taking control of his life. And and because of that, I was able to regain my freedom. And today I'm a returning citizen with a lot of hope, with a lot of dreams, and most of all, to live the kind of life that is honorable and respectable to the memory of Ramon Segura. And uh, and so now what I'm doing, I already enrolled in college. Well, one of my passions today is that I want to get involved in the alcohol and drug counseling certification. That's what I'm almost there. I just need a couple more classes. So, and I think that's a perfect field for me because it not only helps me with my own sobriety, but it also puts me in a place where I can show where I could share my experience with others and help them in their sobriety and perhaps anybody that's involved in gangs or thinking about getting involved in gangs or drugs, perhaps them hearing my story can change their minds and take a different route than what they might be leading to. So that's what I'm doing today, and I'm thankful and grateful to just breathe and so like I said, I know one of the three things that I came out with is to help others, be of service, and pay it forward. Thank you.
Yay. Thanks, Robert.